Yeah, I do encourage people to really be, you want to be careful where you're getting your nutrition information from
Right.
because it can be very confusing out there. And I've heard some very harmful information being delivered to athletes. That's often when people land in my office. But yes, there's a lot of false information out there, so you do need to be careful.
Let's actually talk about that.
Great.
What are some of those misconceptions or misinformation that you think are common
Sure.
that are out there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will sort of, I could talk to you for hours about this, but I'm going to focus my answer really on speaking about kind of the population that we're really addressing, the athlete population, I'll talk about adolescents as well, but I think this one actually does apply across the board, but carbohydrates. Let's talk about carbs. I love carbohydrates. So
They get a bad rap.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah.
That was just what I was about to say. So I do think that there is like a lot of, people demonize carbohydrates, right? Carbohydrates make you fat, right? Carbohydrates cause weight gain. So there's a lot of people preaching no carb or low carb or keto diets and those things can be very, very dangerous, especially when I believe in, I'm probably going to hit on another question, but I have a very much an all foods fit approach. I don't believe in good foods and bad foods. And I don't believe in eliminating a food from the diet unless there is an allergy, a religious reason, like there's like a specific reason for it, right? So I do feel like, again, carbohydrates could also be an entire session, right? People do, the amount someone needs, the amount that you need at different times of your life. Can that change? 100%, right? But, it is all about that figuring out the right balance for you, which someone such as myself can help someone figure that out, right? But to tell someone you cut this food group out entirely, I've seen that recommended I've seen it in like teenagers, athletes, even more specifically athletes, and we're seeing
at a really young age.
At a young age.
Wow.
And we're seeing a lot of negative side effects, health, performance as a result of like low energy, right? So especially eliminating a food group that is our number one energy source for our bodies. So carbohydrates break down to glucose. Glucose, I always say that's the gasoline of the body, right? That's what's making all the systems go. So if you pull that out, again, you're really you can open the door for low energy, injuries resulting from that, right? If you have an athlete that comes in and they're not well fueled, they're not focused, their coordination's off, their concentration's off. And think about what your athletes are doing, right? Especially in the sport of gymnastics. I wouldn't want to come in underfueled in the sport. That could be pretty disastrous, right? So, but it also plays a role in healing the body. And I also think when you start to eliminate food groups, you can also start to play into disordered eating tendencies or even eating disorders, really getting into those areas of kind of demonizing. So I think anytime you're demonizing any food group, right, along with carbs, I'll say sugar, right? Now, I am by no means recommending that people go around, eating a bag of, Swedish fish for breakfast. I happen to love Swedish fish.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought you were saying. I was gonna head out, grab a bag of chips, and have my dinner be a bag of chips, some Swedish fish, or anything.
Yes.
Carb based.
Exactly. So you bring up an excellent point, right? And so people are like, okay, so just sugar. And I'm like, no. Again, like there is a way to balance it, right? Like again, yes. Can you have some of those chips? Sure. I never tell, again, unless someone has an allergy, intolerance, religious reason, I'm not going to tell people do not eat this. I might say don't eat. The best thing to eat before you come in to work out is not a cupcake, right? Am I going to say don't eat a cupcake? Like, no. If someone is eating 100% sugar all day, yeah, you're not going to feel good. You're probably not going to leave room for other important food groups such as protein, right? It's probably going to take the place of fruits and vegetables. So again, it is about figuring out what does our body need when, and that idea of sort of, balance and moderation. And I know that's a big topic as well. What does that mean? And what does that look like? But so I do think, again, demonizing anything, saying, no, you can never eat this. You shouldn't eat this. I really feel like I'm going to actually give you an example. I use this with my athletes. I'll say, okay, I'm going to tell you, Jonathan, do not look at this microphone. whatever you do, do not look at this
I want to look at the
microphone.
microphone
Right,
so bad.
exactly. So you know where I'm going with this now,
Yep,
right?
yep,
Okay,
yep.
right, exactly. You can't eat sugar. Do not eat sugar. Do not eat that. Do not touch that bread.
It's like
Do
that
not
big
touch that
red
bread.
button.
Right, exactly. You're like,
It says don't push, but it's
right.
like, yeah. Yep.
So that's what starts to happen when we say you can't eat this, you can't eat that. We start to see that happen. So again, I think a lot of those myths, anything that says don't eat this, eat that, that's a big one. I think another one is like you can't eat anything after 8 p.m., right? We hear that one a lot. Well, some people don't get home until a little bit later. Some like you have a comment there, go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a great question because a lot of our athletes, their practice sometimes end late in the evening.
Correct.
And so they'll have dinner beforehand.
Yeah, totally.
And so I guess speak on that. What does that look like? Is that
good question?
Is it a good idea to have dinner afterwards or before? Should they have? What does that post meal look like?
Great question. Yes. Another big thing I talk about often, but I will say it's individual. So I am very much like, my approach is never cookie cutter, right? So I'm always going to sit down with someone and say, what are your thoughts? I usually often ask someone like, what's been working for you? What's not working for you, right? Do you have a long commute to get here? How far do you live from the studio, right? All different things, right? I put together the pieces and then we figure out the plan. But I will say the 2 or 3 most common ways of approaching it. If an athlete is training, which many of them do during that dinner hour, right? Oh, I'm there from 4 to 7, or I'm there from 5 to 8, right? Whatever it is, strange timing, right? When you would normally maybe sit down to dinner. So I have athletes do it a lot of different ways. A lot of times athletes will come home from school and have dinner, or they'll have a snack and then they'll have dinner, a little bit closer to practice. I can talk more about timing of nutrients as well. But yeah, for some people, it works well to eat a dinner, digest a bit, come to the gym, do their workout. But, and this is what you're talking about here, you are doing yourself a grave disservice if you just go home, you're like, I can't eat anything. It's after 8 o'clock, shower up and go to bed. You have now skipped an essential part of training in sports nutrition, which is recovery. So there is a recovery window, which is about up to 45 minutes after a workout. So let's say you end your workout at 7 o'clock. Your recovery window is up until about 7:45. Okay. Within that window, you want to get in a blend of carbohydrates as well as protein. So you may have heard of chocolate milk as a recovery drink.
I've never heard that before, actually.
Oh, my goodness. I feel like that's okay. Well, now you've learned it today.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you may hear, now you're going to hear it though. This is what always happens. But now you're going to be like, Laura was just saying that, and now it's everywhere.
It's like getting a car. It's like you get a car and then you're like, it's a car that you've never seen around before, or you don't see it as often. And then you're the one driving the car and now you see it everywhere.
That is exactly it. So chocolate milk, get ready. You are going to see it. But chocolate milk is just an example because it has the chocolate actually gives you a little bit of the carbohydrate, a little bit of that extra sugar to help your muscles recover. So there's an enzyme, we're going to get a little sciencey for a hot second, called glycogen synthase. And what does that enzyme do? It goes out in your body after a workout. It looks for glucose that's floating around. It picks it up. It stores it in your muscle, and stored glucose is stored as glycogen. So glycogen synthase creates stored energy. So now that's your energy to help fuel your body, right? So after a workout, you want that carbohydrate, but you also want that protein, and about 10 to 20 grams of protein. So if you're missing out on that, you're basically, I always say it's the workout sandwich. I'm gonna trademark that at someday, I think. So
sandwich.
yeah,
I like
no
that.
one take that. Okay.
Yeah.
So before you work out.
You guys hear that?
It's totally trademarked. Before a workout, right? What are you eating before? That's your top piece of the bread, right? What you're doing during, and whether that's hydration or depending on the length of the workout, that, there's a lot of factors that go into, do I need something during a workout, right? And then the second piece of bread, the bottom of the sandwich, is your fueling after a workout. So it's a very sad sandwich if it's missing the bottom of the bread, right? So, but you're also, you
It's
might
like you have
notice,
to fold that top bread.
exactly. And then you're low on carbs. It's just, and then things are falling out. It's a hot mess. So that getting both components of that, you're going to ensure now that your body's recovering properly. So all that work you just did in the gym, you want to make sure that, because with the protein too, it's helped resynthesize muscle, right? So think about what your athletes are doing when they're working out. A lot of times you get these little micro tears in your muscle when you're training. That's how they rebuild and get stronger. So it helps decrease soreness and it helps decrease recovery time to have that post-workout meal or snack. So chocolate milk was one random example. But, you know, if someone says, well, what if I go home and I eat dinner within the end of a workout, right? Great. If it's within that window, if it's 2 hours after you get home, I would have a snack, right? Have a workout recovery snack. It might be something, maybe it's cheese and crackers, maybe it's hummus and vegetables, maybe it's fruit and peanut butter. If you don't drink dairy for, you know, whatever reason, you could do a soy milk, a soy chocolate milk, or a soy milk with a piece of fruit. You want to think about your 2 food groups.
Awesome.
So hopefully some people heard some of their favorite snacks in there, but
Yeah.
recovery fueling. But again, figure out figure out what works for you and works out for your schedule, your timing, and because what works for you is what you're going to stick to.
Right. Yeah, it'll be hard to stick to something that you're probably hearing from someone else, and they're finding success in what they're eating.
Yep.
But when you try, you're just like, oh man, this is the worst thing in the world.
It's not sustainable then.
Right.
So, it might sound like a great plan, and it might be a great plan, but if it's not going to work for you, then it's not going to work.
It's like, you know, it's like finding the right type of cardio. I hate cardio. I cannot stand cardio.
We're so opposite.
Oh, really? So what's funny is growing up, I couldn't do it. Then recently I started to, you know, run, not recently meaning like, you know, it's been years.
It's been years. Okay.
But started to run on a treadmill. Then I realized that I hate running on a treadmill and I'd rather run outdoors.
Bingo.
And so now what I've started to do, because even though I hate cardio, I have to get it in. I'll figure out something else to do. Like I'll jump rope instead. Sometimes I'll hop on a stationary bike and watch a show, and I can do that.
Totally.
Sometimes I will, it's not, you know, entirely cardio, but I'll participate in like basketball, or I'll do tennis.
Absolutely.
You know,
still cardio.
It's cardio. But not, I guess, with the stopping and you know, it's not as, I guess, aerobic. Continuous aerobic.
It's right, exactly. It's got different components. It has that anaerobic component as well. And
My little tidbit on cardio.
No, it makes sense. So you found something that works for you.
But it's something that works
right?
for me, exactly. I guess.
And I agree about treadmills. I am, like I said, I love running.
Yeah.
Running on a treadmill feels like exercise to me. That's what I always say.
But running outdoors, it's enjoyable. Yeah.
It's like, it's my time. I don't listen to music. It's my.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I would love music.
No, it's
or at least a podcast. I do a podcast.
A podcast can be good, but no, I'm like, it's my time with my thoughts, and so it's my quiet time.